Hello, my YouTube friends. I welcome you to my channel Simba Codes, where we master JavaScript and beyond. If you're new to this channel, my name is Simba Mapisa. And in today's tutorial, we are going to talk about JavaScript classes. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'll start off by opening my terminal. And I'm going to create a directory and I'm going to name it classes. So we do make dir classes and we're going to change directory into classes. So after creating the directory, I'm going to open it in my favorite text editor, which is Visual Studio Code. And I can open this directory by saying code period and enter. So that opens our Visual Studio Code. So let's wait for it while it's loading. All right, I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to save it. And I'll name it classes again, .js. Hit enter. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see the text clearly. So how do we define classes in JavaScript? So the way we do it is kind of similar to how functions are declared. So we use a class keyword at the beginning and we give it a name. I'm going to name mine person and we put curly braces. And a class is supposed to have a constructor, which is the constructor method, and as GitHub Copilot is completing for us, the constructor is just a method, or it's just a function that accepts arguments which will be used to define the attributes of our class. So this is how you define a class. So why do we need classes? So classes is just a way of creating objects, I would say in a dynamic way. Unlike using object literals, if you have written JavaScript before, you know that when you are defining an object, you write the keyword const person. Const person, and that person will be equal to an object, and you give it a name and an age. So doing it this way, it's good, but it's not quite a better way of doing it if you are to deal with a lot of objects. So this idea of using classes, it streamlines our way of creating objects. So classes, in other words, we say they are just a blueprint of an object. So how do we create an object from a class? We define a variable where we will store our object, and we use the new keyword to create a new person, which is an instance of the class person. So a new person has been, an object, which is an instance, has been created. All right, we know that by using classes, we utilize one of the most important principles in object-oriented programming, which is encapsulation. So using classes encapsulates data and methods that work on that data in the same place. So we can do that by defining a method. So when a function is inside a class, it's called a method. So we define a method and we call it greet. And this greet method is just going to log, hello, my name is the name of the instance, and I am this age years old. All right. I'm going to spin up my extension that I use to make it easier for us to console log or to see the result of invoking these functions. We know that we could just open our terminal and use Node, but it has some difficulties, especially when we're using NodeMon. So I prefer using the extension called Coca.js. So I'll open it and I'm using a free version, so just hit Ctrl+Shift+P and click here on Start on Current File, and let's wait for it while it's spinning up. So it has been spinned up. So we can see that these white dots, it's showing the lines that haven't been executed yet. So all these green dots, it shows that the code has been successfully executed. So in order for us to see it logging, we make use of the method and we invoke it, and we say person1 dot greet, and as you can see here, it's showing, hello, my name is John, I am 30 years old. So this is how we define methods in classes. All right, my friends, so we have seen our code logging here, which is a really good thing. But let's try to understand how person1 is accessing the greet method. Because if we log, let's try and do this. Let's just console log person1, and you can see that it's just giving us John and age, which means the function is not here. The method that was created, that was defined here, it's not here, right? And if we log our class, which is person, let's see person. So it's just showing us a function, which is a constructor function. But if we do dot prototype, we can see that in the prototype we have the greet method. So that means the greet method is only existing in our class and not in our instances, right? So how are these instances accessing the method that is in the prototype of the class? All right, so there is a glue between an instance object and the parent class. It's called danda proto, which is __proto __. So it points to the constructor function. So when person1 calls the greet method, JavaScript checks in person1 to see if person1 has the method greet in it. This instance doesn't have the greet method. So what JavaScript does, it goes ahead and checks up the prototype chain and check to see if there is a link to this object, between this object and a class, or another prototype. So it goes, the danda proto links to the prototype of the parent class, and JavaScript goes to that prototype, which is the person.prototype, which is this prototype, and it checks to see if the greet method exists. And we can see here that the greet method is there. So this is how the person1 accesses the greet method. It has access to the greet method through the danda proto danda. As you can see here, the output is exactly the same. So it's inheriting the prototype as well. All right. So what happens if we define a method as an arrow function? This is a no-no. You should not do it in real world, because it has a disadvantage, and I'll tell you what the disadvantage is. So let's define, while we are logging our you know what? Let me just continue with my danda proto. No, let me just leave it like this. So let's change this method to an arrow function, so we can see that everything seems to be still working properly. But in our person.prototype, we cannot see that greet method anymore. That means it's no longer in our parent class prototype. Rather, it's now embedded in the instance object. So that means each and every instance object that we are going to create from the person class is going to have its own copy of the greet method. This is not a good practice. One of the reasons is it has potential memory issues, because, as you can see that we are repeating one thing over and over again. Each and every instance is having its own function rather than having them access the greet method at a central position, which is like the previous example that I've given you. It was centrally available in the constructor function of the parent class. So each and every instance had access to the greet method. So I'm going to change back the method to be a normal method declaration that we are used to. So just keep in mind that when you are defining your methods, please don't use arrow functions in classes. So this was it about classes in JavaScript. I know there is more you can learn about classes. There is more information that we can share about this. But I think this information that I've given you is enough to get you off the ground and start using classes in your projects. Because it promotes code reusability and it's a really good practice to use classes in your projects, according to my suggestion. So what we're going to do is, in the next tutorial, it's very likely that we are going to be creating an e-commerce API in which we'll make use of classes so that you know how to use classes. Thank you for watching this video. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to my channel and please like the video if you found this information useful, and ring that notification bell icon so that you don't miss such kind of information the next time I release more tutorials like this.